The airport lights flickered under the assault of the raging blizzard outside O'Hare International in Chicago. Hundreds of travelers slumped in plastic chairs, their faces etched with exhaustion, as the latest announcement crackled through the speakers, canceling yet another flight until morning. I pulled my thin sweater tighter around my shoulders, teeth chattering from the biting cold that seeped through every crack in the terminal, my mind racing with the escape I had planned back to New York, only to be trapped here now, facing the very pressures I had tried to outrun. Then she appeared through the crowd, tall and poised, her presence cutting through the chaos like a calm in the storm. She carried a heavy wool coat draped over one arm, and when her eyes met mine she stopped. "Here, take this," she said without hesitation, sliding the coat over my shoulders, the fabric still warm from her body. "Gabriella," she added, her voice steady and kind. "Looks like we're both stuck in this mess tonight." I stared at her, unable to speak at first, her generosity so unexpected in a place where everyone was fighting for space and warmth. "Zaylee," I managed to reply, my name feeling small against her confidence. "Thank you, I don't know what to say." We found a quiet corner near a row of empty gates away from the main crowds, and as the hours stretched into the deep night our conversation unfolded naturally, at first about the storm, the delayed flights, the absurdity of being grounded in a city neither of us called home. Gabriella was 32, a corporate lawyer based in Boston, heading to a deposition that now seemed impossible. I told her I was 28, a graphic designer from New York returning from a quick client meeting in Denver that had wrapped early. The coat smelled faintly of vanilla, and something sharper like fresh paper, and every time I shifted it closer the warmth reminded me of her closeness. She asked about my work and I described the campaigns I designed, the late-night sketching logos that captured brands, but never quite captured my own restless spirit. She listened with genuine interest, her head tilted, her eyes never leaving mine, as if the storm outside had faded to background noise. By 2 in the morning we had shared the last vending machine snacks. She insisted on splitting a granola bar and a bottle of water. The terminal grew quieter, some lights dimming as exhausted families dozed in clusters. I admitted the real reason for my trip had been more than work. My mother had been calling nonstop, pushing me toward stability, toward someone who could fit into our family picture. Gabriella nodded slowly, her expression softening. "Families have a way of mapping out our lives, don't they?" she said, her tone carrying a weight that suggested she knew the feeling all too well. I wanted to say more, to confess the secret I had guarded for years, the truth that no man had ever stirred me the way a simple shared glance from a woman like her could, but the words stuck. Instead I asked about her life, and she spoke of courtrooms, high-stakes negotiations, and the loneliness that came with success, the way expectations from her own circle left little room for anything real. We sat shoulder to shoulder, now the coat enveloping us both as the temperature dropped further. Her arm brushed mine accidentally at first, then stayed, and I didn't pull away. There was no rush, no demand, just a quiet understanding passing between us in the dim glow of emergency lights. She told a story about losing a big case years ago, and how it taught her to value moments of kindness over victories, and I laughed softly, sharing how a failed pitch once sent me into a week of doubt, until I realized my worth wasn't in approval. The connection deepened with every exchanged word, a pull I had never felt so strongly so quickly. By 4 we were both fighting sleep, her head eventually resting lightly against the back of the seat, mine following as the coat kept us anchored together in the cold. When I woke to the first hints of dawn filtering through the snow-covered windows, the storm had eased and announcements began calling for rescheduled flights. Gabriella stirred beside me, her smile sleepy but warm. "Looks like we made it through," she said, handing me a coffee she had somehow fetched while I slept. We exchanged numbers, promising to stay in touch, the moment feeling charged with possibility I had not anticipated. As we parted at security, she squeezed my hand once, her eyes holding mine a beat longer than necessary. "Safe travels, Zaylee." I watched her walk away, the coat now back on her shoulders but its warmth still lingering on my skin. Little did I know that simple act of sharing would unravel everything I thought I knew about choice and consequence. The flight to New York was smooth once we finally boarded, but my mind replayed the night at O'Hare on loop. Gabriella's smile, her voice, the way her presence had made the storm feel bearable, all of it lingered like a secret I wanted to hold close. I landed at JFK, grabbed my bag, and headed straight to my mother's brownstone in Brooklyn, the one place I had hoped to avoid for another week. The door opened before I could knock, and there she stood, my mother Eleanor, her perfectly styled hair and sharp tailored blouse already signaling the lecture I had been dreading. "Welcome home, darling," she said, pulling me into a hug that felt more like a trap than comfort. I have the most wonderful surprise for you. Inside the living room smelled of fresh lilies and expensive coffee, and as I set my bag down a figure rose from the couch turning with that same poised grace I had memorized hours earlier. Gabriella. My heart stopped. She wore a crisp blouse and slacks, her expression shifting from polite to stunned in the same instant mine did. Zaylee, she breathed, her voice barely above a whisper. Mother beamed, stepping between us, oblivious or perhaps willfully blind to the shock rippling through the room. Meet Gabriella Hayes, the woman I have been telling you about for months. She's from an excellent family. Her firm just handled that merger for your uncle, and she is exactly the kind of partner who can bring stability to your life. I have arranged for you two to get to know each other properly, starting with dinner tonight. The words hit like a freight train. Fiancée. Not in name yet, but the implication was clear. My mother had chosen her, handpicked her, vetted her, and now presented her as the solution to my single status, the unspoken fix for whatever she suspected was wrong with me. I stared at Gabriella, searching for answers, but her face had gone carefully neutral, though her eyes flickered with something like regret. This is the woman from the airport. I managed the words tumbling out before I could stop them. We were stranded together last night. Mother clapped her hands, delighted. What a charming coincidence. See destiny at work already. But it was no coincidence, not entirely, and the realization settled heavy in my chest. Gabriella had known, or at least suspected, the arrangement because her firm had ties to my family's business circles, yet she had said nothing while we talked through the night. Dinner that evening was a carefully orchestrated affair at a quiet Italian place in Manhattan. Mother excused herself early, leaving us alone, and the tension thickened immediately. Why didn't you tell me? Zaylee demanded across the candlelit table, my voice low but edged with betrayal. You sat there listening to me spill about family pressure, knowing full well you were part of it. Gabriella set her fork down, her hands steady though her knuckles whitened. I didn't know it was you until your mother sent the photo yesterday afternoon, she said quietly. The airport was real, Zaylee. Every word I said was real. But yes, my family has been in talks with yours for months about this match. It's supposed to strengthen alliances, keep appearances stable. I never expected to meet you like that, to feel what I felt. Her admission stung deeper than the cold at O'Hare. I wanted to walk away right then, but the memory of her coat, her warmth, held me in place. We talked for hours again, but this time the conversation carried layers of conflict, the pull between genuine attraction and the cage of arrangement. I confessed my fears of disappointing everyone the way society still whispered about women like me who chose differently. She shared her own pressures, the expectation to marry well, to produce heirs for the family legacy, even if her heart had never aligned with men either. By the end of the night we agreed to see where it led under the radar, but inside I wrestled with the moral weight. Was this love, or just convenient surrender? Back home alone in my apartment, I paced the floor, the city lights mocking my turmoil. Mother called twice already, planning next steps, and I knew refusing outright would mean cut ties, lost opportunities, the kind of isolation that came with defying her vision. Yet Gabriella's touch from the night before lingered, a spark that felt too real to ignore. The choice loomed already, tearing at me, duty or desire, and the price of either seemed impossibly high. The weeks that followed blurred into a series of carefully staged dates, each one pulling me deeper into the web my mother had woven. Gabriella and I met at art galleries in Chelsea, for lunch in Central Park, and even a weekend drive upstate where the fall leaves hid the tension simmering beneath our smiles. On the surface it looked perfect, two successful women building something meaningful, but every laugh, every shared glance carried the shadow of expectation. I found myself drawn to her intellect, her quiet strength, the way she challenged my designs with thoughtful questions, yet the arrangement poisoned it all. How could something that felt so authentic be born from manipulation? One evening after a gallery opening we walked along the High Line, the city sprawled below us, glittering like false promises. You seem distant tonight, Gabriella said, stopping to face me, her hand brushing mine. Talk to me, Zaylee. I stopped too, the wind whipping my hair as I finally voiced the storm inside. This isn't how it's supposed to start, I said, my voice cracking. I want to know you because of who you are, not because our mothers decided it would look good on paper. She nodded, her eyes reflecting the lights below. I feel the same, she admitted. But walking away now would hurt more than just us. My firm relies on your family's connections, and your mother has made it clear what refusal means for you financially, emotionally. Her words echoed my own fears. I had built a career on my own terms, but my savings were tied to family trusts. One word from mother, and projects dried up, contacts vanished. That night we kissed for the first time under a street lamp, soft, tentative, and full of the longing we had danced around since O'Hare. It was everything the airport connection had hinted at, yet tainted by the knowledge that this could be the path of least resistance. I pulled back, breathless, searching her face. Is this real, or are we just playing the roles they wrote for us? Gabriella rested her forehead against mine. It's real for me, she whispered. But I won't force you into anything. The choice is yours, even if the consequences aren't. The confrontation with Mother came sooner than expected during a family brunch in the brownstone. She cornered me in the kitchen while Gabriella chatted politely with my aunt in the next room. You two are perfect together, she said, her tone leaving no room for argument. Don't throw this away over some silly notion of independence, Zaylee. Society isn't kind to women who go against the grain, especially not in our circles. I felt the walls closing in the prejudice she disguised as concern, the same prejudice that had kept me silent for years. What if I don't want this arrangement? I countered, my hands trembling. What if I want to choose for myself? Her laugh was sharp. Choose what, darling? Loneliness and whispers behind your back. Gabriella is the best option you will ever have. I left early that day, my mind reeling with the trade-off staring me down. Stay and gain security, but lose autonomy, or resist and risk the family fracture that could leave me isolated in a world quick to judge. Gabriella called later, her voice a lifeline amid the chaos. I told her about the brunch, and she listened without interruption. We need to decide together, she said. But I can't pretend the pressure isn't there. That night alone I stared at the coat she had given me, now hanging in my closet, a reminder of the night that started it all. The internal battle raged, love pulling one way, duty the other. And the cost of choosing wrong felt like it would break me entirely. The cracks widened when an old friend from college reached out, sensing something off in my texts. Lena had always been the one who knew my truth, the one who had held me through my first heartbreak with a woman years ago. We met at a quiet cafe in Soho, and I spilled everything: the airport, the arrangement, the kiss, the growing feelings tangled with resentment. She's using you, Zaylee, she warned, her eyes fierce. Your mother doesn't care about your happiness, only the image. And Gabriella knew the setup from the start, even if she claims otherwise. The betrayal hit fresh, hearing it from someone outside the bubble. I defended Gabriella at first, but doubt crept in like the winter cold returning to the city. That evening I confronted her at her hotel suite downtown, the one she kept for work trips. Did you know before the airport? I demanded the moment the door closed. She didn't flinch, but her shoulders tensed. Not your name, she said, but yes, the families had been negotiating. I thought it was just another blind setup until I saw you. The honesty should have soothed me, but instead it fueled the anger. You let me open up about my fears while hiding this. How am I supposed to trust that what we have isn't just convenient for your career too? Gabriella stepped closer, her voice dropping. Because every moment since has been real. The storm, the talks, the kiss. But if you want out, say it. I won't hold you. We argued for hours, circling the moral dilemma at the core. Was it wrong to build on a foundation laid by others if the love grew genuine? She revealed her own sacrifices, the way her family had pushed her toward this match to secure a merger that saved her father's firm from collapse. I saw the pain in her eyes, the same trade-offs I faced, and for the first time the anger shifted to understanding. We ended the night in each other's arms, not as lovers in the physical sense, but as two women bound by shared burdens, holding tight against the world. Yet the damage lingered. Mother sensed the friction and doubled down, inviting us to a charity gala, where eyes would watch every interaction. At the gala, in a glittering ballroom, the social prejudice surfaced in subtle ways: whispers from relatives about how lucky I was to have found such a suitable match, the way they avoided asking about my past dates. I gripped Gabriella's hand tighter, feeling the stares, the judgment that still clung to women who loved women, even in progressive New York. A cousin pulled me aside later, his smile fake. Don't mess this up, Zaylee. Your mother's been planning this for years. One wrong move, and the trusts get reevaluated. The threat was clear, and when I told Gabriella, she squeezed my hand. We don't have to do this, she said. But walking away means losing more than money. It means losing the chance to prove them wrong together. The betrayal deepened when I discovered through a leaked email that Gabriella had been asked by her own mother to report back on our progress, the arrangement more calculated than she had admitted. I stormed to her office the next day, documents in hand. You've been spying for them, I accused. She paled, reading the email. It was one conversation, she explained. I shut it down after the airport because what I feel for you changed everything. But the trust fractured further, the cost of secrecy mounting with every revelation. I left that day unsure if we could survive the layers of manipulation. Yet the pull remained strong, forcing me to weigh the price of forgiveness against the pain of letting go. Winter deepened, and so did the emotional toll. I threw myself into work designing campaigns that reflected the chaos inside me, bold colors, clashing lines symbolizing the fractures in my life. Gabriella tried to bridge the gap with small gestures, coffee deliveries, handwritten notes reminding me of our airport night. But each one reminded me of the larger web we were caught in. One weekend we escaped to a cabin upstate, hoping distance would clarify things. Snow fell softly outside as we sat by the fire, and for hours we talked without the city's noise. I told her about the nights I had cried alone, fearing I would never be enough for my family as I was. She shared the pressure that had kept her from coming out fully, the fear that authenticity would cost her everything she had built. The conversation turned to the hard choices ahead. If we pursue this for real, we have to come clean, she said, her hand finding mine. No more hiding behind the arrangement. But coming clean meant facing my mother head on, the confrontation I had avoided for years. Back in the city, the moment arrived during a family dinner meant to celebrate our supposed engagement. I stood at the table, my voice steady for the first time in months. This isn't what I want, I said, looking directly at Mother. The arrangement, the pressure, it's suffocating me. I care for Gabriella deeply, but not like this, not as a deal. The room fell silent, then erupted. Mother slammed her glass down, her face flushing with anger. After everything I have done for you, this is how you repay me. You will lose it all, Zaylee, the support, the name, the future. Gabriella sat beside me, her presence a quiet anchor. But even she looked torn. Later, alone, she admitted the toll on her too, the partners at her firm questioning her focus, the family threatening to pull funding if the match failed. We held each other through the night, the trauma of potential loss settling heavy, the awakening that true connection demanded sacrifice. I realized in those dark hours that staying silent had been its own betrayal to myself. The moral line blurred further. Was it right to hurt my mother, to claim my truth, or wrong to deny the love growing between us for the sake of peace? Social prejudice amplified it all, old friends distancing themselves once rumors spread, colleagues whispering at work. The costs mounted, career opportunities stalled, family ties strained. And through it all, Gabriella and I clung to the bond forged in that stormy airport, the one pure thing amid the wreckage. A breaking point came when Mother issued an ultimatum: sign the engagement papers or face legal battles over the family assets. I sat in my apartment staring at the documents, the pen heavy in my hand. Gabriella arrived unannounced, her eyes red from her own battles. Don't do it for them, she said. Do it for us if it's real. Or walk away, and we face the world together without their strings. The decision tore at me, the internal conflict peaking as I weighed the life I knew against the unknown. In the end, I pushed the papers away, choosing the harder path. But the pain of that choice echoed long after the ink dried on nothing. Spring arrived with tentative warmth, mirroring the fragile hope between Gabriella and me. We had chosen to step away from the arrangement, publicly announcing our relationship on our terms. No more hiding, no more deals. The backlash was immediate. Mother's calls turned to silence, family events excluded us, and business doors that once opened easily now slammed shut. I lost 2 major clients within weeks, the social prejudice I had feared manifesting in polite rejections and pointed questions about my choices. Gabriella faced similar hurdles, her firm reassigning her cases, the partners citing conflicts of interest. Yet through the losses we found strength in each other, late nights rebuilding plans, quiet moments where the connection from O'Hare bloomed into something unbreakable. One evening on a rooftop overlooking the city, we reflected on the journey, the betrayals, the confrontations, the trade-offs that had reshaped us both. I don't regret choosing you, I told her, my hand in hers. But the price has been high. She nodded, pulling me close. Worth every bit, she whispered. We had awakened to a truth that love demanded authenticity even when it cost the world we knew. Mother eventually reached out, not with apology, but with a grudging acceptance born of seeing us thrive despite her efforts to control. The scars remained, but so did the growth, the understanding that right and wrong were not always clear-cut. As summer approached, we stood together at another airport, this time leaving for a trip of our own, choosing the storm long behind us. The woman who had shared her coat had become the partner who shared my life, and the journey, though marked by pain, had led to a freedom neither of us had imagined. In the end, when family demands sacrifice and society judges harshly, is following your heart worth the pain of betrayal and loss, or should duty prevail?